Welcome to your Barbados Today Evening News Update for Thursday, August 26. Cabinet has approved $2.9 million to renovate the Willkie Cumberbatch Primary School. Education Minister Santia Bradshaw made the announcement this afternoon.
Back in November 2020, the school was closed as a result of significant water damage and flooding, which compromised the roof structure in the main block. As a consequence, the students and teachers were relocated to the UE Open campus, the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Willkie, and some remain at the school in the prefabricated buildings. Despite the relocation, we've also continued to do extensive renovations on the other buildings, and over the past few months, the ministry has had to engage a project team of architects, civil and MEP engineers, quantity surveyors, and the project, I'm pleased to say, is now at the tender stage. Given that works are expected to take approximately 12 weeks, arrangements are being put in place to relocate the students, and details will be communicated with the PTA shortly to update them on the relocation, as well as plans for the refurbishment of the school.
The National Parent-Teacher Association has welcomed news that children between 12 to 18 years of age can now be vaccinated against COVID-19. The support comes just a day after Education Minister Santia Bradshaw announced the Pfizer vaccine will be made available to that age group from Friday. However, General Secretary of the NTPA, Nicole Brathwaite, made it clear that parents must retain their right to make decisions on behalf of their children without any fear of being disadvantaged in the classroom.
We still believe, obviously, ultimately, as it is not mandatory, it is in the decision making and the choice is still in the hands of the parents to make for their individual children, of course. We acknowledge the value and the benefit of the vaccination, and in terms of the safety for the term coming up, obviously that would obviously still have to be left to be seen, but from all of the professional reports from the pediatricians, the doctors, the Ministry of Health persons, and so on, they have more than emphasized that the benefits outweigh the risks. But ultimately, the decision is in the hands of parents of what they do with their children, and we are satisfied that children who are not vaccinated will not be excluded from the classrooms.
The rollout of the vaccination of children against COVID-19 will begin tomorrow, Friday, August 27. Chief Education Officer Dr. Ramona Archer Brathwaite outlines the arrangements in place for the exercise.
The government of Barbados will commence the vaccination of children aged 12 to 18 using the Pfizer vaccine, which is currently the only one approved for use within that demographic. A phased approach will be utilized beginning tomorrow, Friday, August 27th, targeting special needs students, sixth form students, and those who attend tertiary institutions. Parents or guardians who wish to have their children or wards inoculated may visit Harrison College, St. Leonard's Boys School, Princess Margaret Secondary School, Building Number 2, Harbour Industrial Park, the Sharon Moravian Church Hall, or the UE Open campus. The vaccination centers will open from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and all persons are advised to walk with their identification cards.
Now to the latest COVID-19 numbers. 21 people, 11 males and 10 females, have been recorded as COVID-19 positive. They were identified out of the 1,398 tests conducted by the Barbados Santos Public Health Laboratory on Wednesday. The number of people in isolation now stands at 183. Barbados has recorded 4,741 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 48 deaths since March 2020. Public health officials have administered 105,664 forced doses of the COVID-19 vaccines under the National Vaccination Program. Additionally, 92,706 persons have received second doses and are fully vaccinated. A female member of government's road cleaning program is nursing injuries today after falling into a well at Porter's St. James. Acting Chief Fire Officer Henderson Patrick said fire officials rescued the woman from a 30-foot well this afternoon.
The well, before she fell into it, was covered with rotted wood, and it was also covered with shrubbery. She would not have been able to see that by walking off the road and heading in the direction that she did, and that's what caused her to accidentally fall into the well. We had 10 officers that responded with 2 appliances from the Archhall Fire Station and 1 from the Bridgetown Fire Station, and they were able to recover her from the well at about 1:15 in the afternoon. She was placed into the care of the ambulance service. They conducted the initial assessment and then transported her to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital.
Today's incident has prompted the acting fire chief to issue yet another call for homeowners to conduct regular well maintenance checks on their properties.
For property owners, it would not hurt from time to time if they paid attention to their property and to ensure that wells that they have on their properties are properly secured. If it has not been attended to for a period of time, there's no difficulty in going back to check to see that the material that it had covered, that it was covered with in the past, that it is still viable. And sometimes even concrete materials can lose their viability over a period of time. It would be useful to ensure that those things still have integrity, that it reduces the risk that it poses to persons who would traverse the area.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news now, the National Insurance Scheme in Grenada says it will provide assistance to persons placed in isolation, quarantine, or diagnosed with COVID-19. NAS Director Dorset Cromwell said a significant number of workers have been inquiring about their rights to compensation when they requested to remain in isolation and are tested positive for the virus. More in this report from GBN News.
When this situation came up, we went back to the regulation and we noted that the regulation actually made provision for this situation. So it is that particular part of the regulation that that allowed us to pay the sickness benefit because people are either in quarantine or in isolation or has tested positive for COVID-19.
Claimants will have to meet several requirements.
Well, of course, if you test positive for COVID-19, you'll have to provide some sort of documentation, right? If you're required to isolate from your work, then your employer would simply have to state that on the form, right? And we take the word of the employer that, listen, this person is required to isolate. They cannot be on work because they would have come in contact with someone.
On the international front, Japan suspended the use of 1.6 billion doses of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine following claims that the domestic distributor received reports of contaminants in some vials. More in this report from Reuters TV.
On Thursday, Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga sought to reassure citizens over the use of the Moderna vaccines. He said the country's inoculation rollout would not be significantly hit.
I have received a specific report from the Health Ministry about contaminants in Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. I have instructed the Health Ministry to deal with the issue considering safety as a priority after analysing the current situation. Although I haven't got a detailed report as a conclusion, I received a report that it wouldn't have a significant impact on our inoculation plan.
Both Japan and Moderna said the suspension was just a precaution, but the move prompted several Japanese companies to cancel worker vaccinations planned for Thursday. Moderna said the contamination could be due to an issue in one of the production lines at its contract manufacturing site in Spain. Japanese officials say some shots from the affected lot have been used but didn't say how many individuals were affected.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.